Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the movie Hangout, and let's talk about the canceled Man of Steel 2, the sequel to the, in my opinion, the best Superman film, Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill. But before I jump into that, before I jump into what could have been, what amazing franchise it could have been, the billions and billions of dollars Warner Brothers just left on the table to burn, and we are forever going to just wonder what if. Before I jump into that, if you could go on down, click subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment, and like this video, because I want to hear what your opinion is on what I'm going to be reading right now. Okay, so I went over to cosmicbooknews.com. Man of Steel 2 canceled, and the long history of the Superman sequel that wasn't. Again, I can't believe I'm saying that. I mean, this should be Superman 9 at this point, but it is what it is. So Man of Steel 2 is canceled with the news that Henry Cavill will no longer be playing Superman as James Gunn goes with a new approach to the character. Following the release of Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam, which had a cameo appearance from Henry Cavill as Superman, and they got all of us super hyped up, super excited, because we're like, yes, finally. I was giving The Rock mad props for that, because he was throwing his weight around, his social media, movie stardom capital around to bring back Henry Cavill and just to get this thing going finally. The Man of Steel 2 was in early development with Justice League A-list producer Charles Roven attached. Lots of rumors then started to fly that Henry Cavill signed on not only for Man of Steel 2, but Black Adam 2, even Justice League 2. So that's like 3 movies right there. Recent reports even offered the Flash director was interested in directing Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill as Superman in something similar to the Richard Donner movies. That would have been cool. I love the Richard Donner movies, which is what Cavill wanted, a joyful version. Imagine that, a superhero that is positive, a superhero that is the opposite of cynical, a Superman that sees a bright future ahead, that wants to help people, that sees the good in people. I would have loved to have seen that. And it says here that, in addition, is reported the Warner Brothers Discovery turned down a pitch from British writer-director Stephen Knight, who is known for Peaky Blinders. It's a phenomenal series. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely suggest you check that out. Great writing, great acting, amazing. But while it has been reported the Warner Brothers Discovery turned those down, it was said that it was still open to new pitches about Man of Steel 2. At the same time, various rumors were going around. They offered the opposite, that Henry Cavill wasn't signed. So there was a lot of kind of like flip-flopping back and forth. Shortly after, we would see Wonder Woman 3 canceled with Patty Jenkins exiting the movie. I'm not surprised at that at all, because the second one didn't do very well. They got critically panned. I'm not really that big into like the hand-picked critics that the studios like to give an early screening to, but the audience, which is the most important thing, they didn't like it at all. And then it goes on down to the long history of Man of Steel 2. It said here that following the success of Man of Steel box office opening at $116 million back in 2013, man, almost 10 years ago, it's crazy. There was quick talk about a sequel. However, the talk quickly died down when Man of Steel box office stalled at only about $668 million worldwide. Still pretty good. From what I've been told from insiders throughout the past decade, the executives from Warner Brothers at the time wanted Man of Steel to hit $1 billion to match the Dark Knight trilogy that made billions. I mean, that's really not fair, because the second Batman movie in the Dark Knight trilogy made a boatload of money because it was the Joker. I mean, no villain stacks up to the Joker. And also Heath Ledger passed away. So it was his final performance as the Joker, and nothing is going to top that. I mean, that's like $10 billion worth of free publicity and hype that went into that. And I mean, that's just unrealistic to think that any film is going to even come close to that. It says here the plan was to have Henry Cavill play Superman, spearhead the Justice League universe, where Man of Steel 2 would be next, in addition to a movie titled The Batman, with Batman in his second year of being a hero, starring a pretty boy type actor, which will lead to Justice League and solo films for the other characters. And then I'm guessing he would do cameos in all of them. Well, unfortunately, the Man of Steel did not hit $1 billion. The next idea of Man of Steel and the Batman, it decided to bring the older Ben Affleck Batman, which I think is even better than the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and combined the Man of Steel 2 and the Batman scripts, which became Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Yeah, when I watched that movie, I was thinking, this doesn't seem like a film. There's something about it. It doesn't seem like they were really trying to make this movie. It was almost like they had two separate films. They knew they weren't going to get the chance because of the budget and the scheduling, and they just kind of like slapped them together, kind of like, squeeze it all together like Play-Doh and be like, here, take it. And there was something a little bit off about that film, in my opinion. A lot of people liked it, but something a little bit off. Superman versus Batman wasn't well received. It didn't give them their billions, and Zack Snyder was already involved with Justice League, and we all know how that went. So what was the Man of Steel 2 about? It says here that there was a rumor that from years ago that involved Brainiac and Supergirl, which could be interesting. Brainiac really isn't a character that I was ever really interested in, but people that are hardcore Superman comic book fans, they love Brainiac. Supergirl, though, I always thought was pretty cool. I always thought they could have done a better job of the 80s Superman movie, because, it's an interesting concept. They could do a lot with that, but they didn't. And here's an opportunity where they could have. And it says here that it was looked at as that young Batman in his second year of being a hero in the movie titled The Batman Opposite Cavill. So what happened with Justice League? So when Henry Cavill appears as Superman in Joss Whedon's Justice League, which did an awful disservice to fans, Henry Cavill would distance himself from Zack Snyder at the time, as Henry wanted to do another Superman movie and even pitched Man of Steel 2 with his Mission Impossible director Christopher McQuarrie, but was turned down. Can you imagine them turning down that? I don't know. It's crazy. From what I had been told, Warner Brothers turned down their Warner Brothers 2 pitch in favor of J.J. Abrams, who signed that $500 million mega deal. And how did that go? Not too good. Then the pandemic hit. Justice League got thrown over to HBO Max. Didn't do well. And then basically the rest of it was stuck in development limbo. And then it goes on to talk about Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, trying to resurrect something he's been developing forever, which was Black Adam. And in what sounds like history repeating itself, Black Adam was a disappointment at the box office. Gunn and Safran, I think that's how you say his name, Safran, were announced as the two co-heads of DCU, and the rest, they say, is history. I've always thought that it's unfortunate, but the fate of Henry Cavill as Superman depended on a different movie that he had nothing to do with, and that was Black Adam, starring The Rock, which I like The Rock and some of his stuff, but let's face it, if you take the several movies he does a year and you were to really count in one hand how many of them are actually good movies, I don't know if you could actually get 5. They're kind of like mediocre popcorn movies. People seem to like them. I guess some of them make money, but in my opinion, having Superman hinge on The Rock and Black Adam, it's almost like you're gambling on a gamble, and it was pretty much doomed to fail. Black Adam could have worked if they hadn't have basically just taken every cool moment from every Marvel movie and just slapped it together in one film and try to repackage it and give it to an audience, try to do something a little more original, I would think, but they didn't do that, and people didn't seem to want to spend their money. So Black Adam failed, and now we're not going to see Brainiac, we're not going to see Supergirl, we're not going to see Henry Cavill as Superman, unfortunately. But let me know, what do you think about that? Do you think that maybe there's still a chance they're going to do a Man of Steel 2? Do you think that, I don't know, maybe if Black Adam makes a lot of money and when it's streaming, or maybe in merchandise later on, or maybe if there's like a huge social media movement like they did with Morpheus and the studio catches wind of it again and they decide to just barrel ahead and push through and they could potentially make it again. Let me know what you think. Or are you just kind of like done with like Superman and Henry Cavill? Are you tired of hearing about it? And you're like, whatever, Henry, go on, do your new, series that you're going to be doing that was just announced. Let me know, comment below. And as always, if you want to get future rants, reviews, or original content, click subscribe. Later.